Screencast here is going to cover Chapter 4 and Lesson 1 only. What we're going to be discussing today is a lot of alignment tools and how to use InDesign to move things around and not always drag with our mouse. This is what the image that we're going to end up with, and there's a lot of things we're going to be doing between now and then to get that particular object. Do a Command O to open, and open up 4-1 from your data files. 4-1 from your data files, it's a blank document. Do a Command Shift S, and let's save this in your classwork folder as orientation. Okay, with the document open, what we're going to do is make that checkerboard document. So we're going to start with making a square first. So come over here to your rectangle tool, and I'm going to click on the rectangular tool, and I'm just going to drop one any shape in the top left hand corner. Notice that mine is very small and it doesn't look like a square or a checkerboard at any given point right now. Here's how we can manipulate this object. So I'm going to click on my selection tool. If I was on my selection tool, I could come in here and I could drag and try to get something that looks decent like I like. But what I could do is come up to my options bar, and where it shows the width and height of my object, I could type in a 2 and then a 2 for height. Go ahead and do that. I just hit tab between the two. What that gives me is exactly a 2-inch by 2-inch square. So rather than trying to drag to get 2 inches, I can just automatically type it in. Let's go ahead and fill it. On your options bar, come up here to the fill box and select green. And let's go to your stroke and select red. Now when we go to your stroke, let's change the width of our stroke to 6 point. So you should have a red outline on a green square. Now with the object selected, let's say that I want to move this object to the top left-hand corner without even touching it. Okay, if I have it selected, what we can do is we can come up here to our X and Y on our options bar. And just like in math class, your X-axis is this one here that goes horizontal, and your Y is going to be your vertical. If I want to put it in the corner, you can see where that matches up, which is 0, 0. So I'm going to take my X-axis down to 0, my Y down to 0. Hit enter. Oh, you can see mine screwed up, and here's why mine's screwed up. I'm going to undo that. Before I do that, I need to tell which point do I want in the corner. So you see this reference point here, this little box, all these little tiny little squares on it. If I click the top left-hand corner, what that means it's going to select this reference point and put this reference point in the 0, 0. Okay, so I go top left-hand corner, I select X and Y, 0, 0. That's now crammed up in the extreme left-hand corner. Let's look at the stroke panel. So if you go to Window, Workspace, Advanced, make sure on the Advanced Workspace, and we come over here to our stroke panel. If you look where it says Align Stroke, you can get different types of ways that the stroke is applied to the box. The default is going to be outside, align stroke to the center of it. I think what we normally are on the outside, so it pushes that to the, actually no, it's aligned to the center, so it's kind of like right on top of the border of the shape. Click the middle one that says Align Stroke to Inside. Then when we do that, go ahead and look at your stroke. It pulls it to the inside border of the green square, and we're off of the side of our document. Now that you have that selected, let's come back up to your stroke fill, and let's change that to none. So now we just got rid of the stroke altogether. Using the same method as before, let's come over here to the top left-hand reference point, and let's set that back to 0, 0 since it got moved. So now we have a green square in the top left-hand corner of our document, and if I use my options bar, I can see that it is 2 inches by 2 inches. And now we're going to start making a checkerboard out of it. So here's what we can do. Let's go ahead and select this box. Let's go to Edit on the menu, Step and Repeat. What we're going to do is we're going to repeat this 3 times. I want 3 boxes out of this, and I want my vertical offset to be 2 and my horizontal offset to be 2 as well. So it's going to put the next point down here on the corner at 2, 2, and the next point after that on 4, 4, and the next one 6, 6. Go ahead and click OK. So it's 2, 2 starting my next corner. The next corner is 4, 4. Next one's 6, 6. So we just offset it 2 inches by 2 inches. doesn't mean that's a 2 by 2 square. It's copying the square regardless, but it's telling it where to put it at in the point. Okay, let's go ahead and click on the pasteboard to deselect. Let's select the top two rectangle, or top two squares. With the top two squares selected, let's go to Edit, Step and Repeat. And let's repeat this just once. And in our vertical offset, we're going to put 0. And our horizontal, we're going to put in S4. So this is going to put them directly to the right of these two squares. Go ahead and click OK. Now I have two boxes selected over there. I'm going to click on the pasteboard to deselect. I'm going to go back and select those two boxes again. The first two at the top left, the top two left boxes. I'm going to go to Edit, Step and Repeat, and we'll count this once, and our vertical is going to be 0. And our horizontal is going to be -4. Oop, I messed that one up. I want to undo that. So with the top two selected here, let's go Edit, Step and Repeat. Let's go vertical -4. Horizontal 0. Horizontal 0. So that's not getting to work. Okay, here's another thing we can do. Let's select the top two green boxes. And let's do an Edit, Copy, and let's do an Edit, Paste in Place. What we can do is we can drag them down. There was a flip. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there, but I did. You can actually just kind of flip them around. So I'll just do an Edit, Copy, and an Edit, Paste in Place, and I'll drag them down. So regardless of how you can do it, there's several ways to do it. Regardless of how you want to copy and paste, let's bring two boxes down below. So now we have a checkerboard with white boxes all around. What we're going to do is we're going to fill those with blue. So do a Command A to select all. Command A to select all. Let's do a Command C to copy. And then let's do an Edit, Paste in Place. Edit, Paste in Place. Now, there's now a duplicate layer of green squares right on top of where you're at. Now, we could try to drag and move those, but you're going to end up with some problems. So what we can do is actually rotate it to fill in the white. Rotate it from the white. So here's what we're going to do. Come up here to your reference point and put it on the center reference point. And then change your rotation angle on the options bar to 90 degrees. What that's going to do is it's going to flip the image so you have the white boxes filled in with the boxes you just pasted. Now, leave everything selected like you just did and change your fill color to dark blue. Now, if you clicked off of the document before you filled it with blue, you're probably going to have to go in and select each individual box that you want to make blue and flip it and turn it blue. But since we rotated an object that was selected and didn't have the entire thing selected, that's why when we changed it blue, it only isolated the ones that we needed to fill in. So I'm going to click off the pasteboard now. So what we actually have is 4 rows, a 4x4 row, and there's actually 16 individual squares on here. Let's do a Command S to save, and let's do a Command A to select all. So Command A to select all, I have the entire document selected. Okay, now what we're going to do is go up to the bounding box, which is your sizing box in the top right hand corner, and we're going to hold Shift and Option. If I hold Shift and Option while I click on the top right hand corner sizing, and I can shrink it, if I let go of my mouse before the keys, I can size all boxes at once. Now, in our Photoshop unit, we've done that quite a bit, so that is nothing new there. So let's try a different method. With the entire thing selected, come up to the right sizing bounding box, click and hold. While you are clicking and holding and dragging up, hold the space bar down. As you hold the space bar down, the boxes will become separated. So the size of the boxes stay the same, but the space between is increasing. I'm going to put that in the top right corner there. And I'm going to let go. And I'm going to come down to the bottom left-hand corner, and I'm going to click and drag. And after I click and drag, that's when I can hit the space bar. And I'm going to size this up so it fills the entire document. And I'm going to click on the pasteboard to deselect. So while the entire object is selected and I'm dragging, if I hold Shift, I can spread the space between them. Let's do a Command A to select. Try this one. So grab the top right sizing box. Oh, wait, never mind, we already did that one. And let's do top right sizing box, and let's click and hold, and let's drag that towards the center. And while we're doing that in the center, hold down the space bar, hold down Shift, and hold down Option. So it's a little weird with your fingers. So if you hold down Shift, Option, and spacebar while you're dragging it into the center, then let go, what you can get is you can contract the entire object and take the space between each box and bring it back down. So it's basically the flip side of what we just did. So that was Shift, Alt, hold spacebar while, and this is after you click and hold. When you click and drag, that's when you push the hotkey buttons. Now we want to leave a little bit of a gap between each. I'll zoom in here a little bit. We want to leave a little bit of a gap between each box. Okay, and I'm going to click on the pasteboard to deselect. Over here on the left side, you have what's called a gap tool. So fourth button down in your toolbar, click on the gap tool. While we're on the gap tool, here's how we can change the way these white columns, as they are now, we can change the way they are actually used. Let's go to the second, well, it would be the middle vertical gap here. And let's click and hold. And I'm going to move over just to the left a little bit. See how I'm doing that? Then let's grab this bottom one. Let's move that up a little bit so it stretches out the bottom boxes. Makes the third one thinner. Another thing we could do is we can change just two individual boxes. If we put our cursor in between these top two boxes here, hold Shift as we click. Actually, not Shift, Command. That's what I'm looking for. Command, you can actually increase the size of that gap. Now, if I want to just move these individual, this gap here between just these boxes, if I hold Option, you get a different look. Moves it on the left. So do a Command S to save. So there's a couple things there. If I click between a gap, I hold Command. I can push those apart. If I hold Option, I can shift two individual columns together. If I hold Shift, I can move the actual line. If I hold Control, I can move the actual line as well. If we do a Command Option, it will actually push them apart. So there's a lot of different things you can do. So there's a lot of hotkeys. You don't have to memorize a bunch of them, but just know that if with your gap tool you can do different things if you just try some of their hotkeys. Do a Command S to save, and let's do a Command O to open. And we're going to open up 4-2. Okay, with 4-2 opened up, let's save that one as alignment in our classwork folder. Alignment. Go to your selection tools. We got 3 boxes on the document, 3 equally sized boxes, and let's go to Window on the menu. Go down to Object and Layout, and let's go to Align. What that does is that pulls up the Align panel, and then let's do a Command A to select all boxes on the page. So if I'm selected on all boxes, there's a way we can snap things to align them specifically, which keeps the error out of us dragging. So on the alignment box, where it says align objects, let's try a couple of these. Let's align it to the left edges, which is that top one. If I align to the left edges, it's going to take the furthest most box and shove everything over to the left edge of it. Do a Command Z to undo that. Let's try a different one. Let's say align horizontal centers, which is the next one. Takes the most horizontally centered object and shoves everything from the left or right side into the center piece of that. Let's do a Command Shift S. Let's do a align top edges. If we align the top edges, it takes the highest edge and shoves everything from below up to that top edge part. Do a Command S to save, do a Command O to open, and let's open up 4-3 from your data files, and let's save that as distribution in our classwork folder. So let's use the align panel again, and let's try a couple of different methods of selecting and aligning some boxes here. So select the top two yellow squares and the red squares. Now Command doesn't work as a selection method here, so here's what we do. Click on the yellow box in the top left hand corner, hold Shift, click on the box in the top right, then click the next red square and the next red square. The green square is not selected because I didn't click on it and there's not a marquee around it. So with those selected then, let's align our top edges. So if you look over here at the distribution object, so we were doing alignments, now we're going to be distributing objects. So where it says, well, we're going to do distribute second. So align the top edges first. So align top edges is in the alignments. Click on that. Then go to distribute, and in the distribute, let's distribute our horizontal centers. So by aligning them top, it just takes them in the place that they are and vertically shoves them to the top. If we distribute our vertical centers or our horizontal centers, in this case we're going to do our horizontal centers. So distribute your horizontal centers. That's going to put the equal amount of space between each box, and that button was right here. Distribute your horizontal centers. Okay, let's click on the pasteboard to deselect. Now let's select the top left yellow square, the two red squares, so hold Shift, the two red squares, and then the bottom right yellow square. So on the top three squares here, then the bottom right yellow square. It may look like I have this top right one selected, but I actually don't. You can tell by the little blue dots around the other boxes. So now with those four boxes selected, let's distribute our vertical center. So go to your distribute layer over here on the panel, and what we want to do is distribute vertical centers. So right here, distribute vertical center. When you do that, you get this nice checkerboard kind of a pattern there. Now click to deselect all. Let's select the green square this time and the two red squares. So green square, hold Shift, red square, red square. And one more, the bottom yellow square. So these four objects are selected, and let's align these to the right. So on my alignment layer, I click Align Right Edges. Now you can see it's kind of messy. They're not equally distributed. So now we're going to distribute the vertical centers, which gives us a nice clean look in between. But what you can see is we have a same gap between the reds, green, and the yellow, but this top yellow one, not included. So hold Shift and select the yellow box at the top as well. Then go to your Distribute Vertical Centers, and it puts the same equal space between each box now. Click to deselect. That's going to conclude Lesson 1, Chapter 4.